Michael, and in today's tutorial it's going to be a continuation and wrap up on the course POL123. Today we'll be taking our bearing from the violations of administrative responsibility in Nigeria. What is being said, let's go straight into it. So, POL123 is a course that has to do with public administration, genesis, structure, and its functions, how it's been operated in Nigeria. And this happens to be the third class we're having on this course. We have come a long way this far, and in today's class we will be dissecting the violations of administrative responsibility in Nigeria. Now, same thing as saying violations attached to the functioning of public administration in Nigeria. So, this being said, let's go straight into it. So, the very first thing we have here, we have what is called one of the violation of the administrative responsibility in Nigeria is what we call bribery and corruption. As we all know, bribery and corruption could be regarded as the worst acts against administrative responsibility in Nigeria. Bribery and corruption basically is the major problem. To all issues in the administrative layer of the government in any country. Bribery does a lot. Bribery corrupts, and it does clouds right judgment, as we all know that as that. Now, we also have dishonesty among administrative personnel not being honest with their superiors and with they're actually serving the state directly. So not being honest is also a violation. Also, we have unethical behaviors like negative administrative responsibilities. This is also a big challenge in the administrative government. So we have you acting without legal authority. You have delegated authority, and you are acting is also a bad one. So we have unfair treatment of workers. We have that as that. So very quickly, let's touch on what we call the parliamentary types of executive. Don't forget that the administrative, when we talk of administration now, we are simply it's a unit under the executive branch of government, under the executive of any government. Now, we want to talk about the parliamentary type of executive. Now, in parliamentary form, executive power lies with the prime minister. In parliamentary form, executive power lies with the prime minister. Then, when we talk about the presidential type of executive now, here the president of the country is vested with all executive power. This is a very good example of Nigeria, but this parliamentary type is a very good example of Britain, where we have head of state and we have ceremonial head of state differently. We have the government that is responsible, the body responsible for the main decisions, and we have another body responsible for just ceremony. But here, when we talk about the presidential type of executive, it's just one person, and it is the president. Now, we also have the United States of America and Nigeria to represent the best example of this type of executive. That's the presidential type of executive. So we have that as I believe that is well understood. Now let's continue. Now Gladden defines what we call administrative policy, as a form in which the ministerial administrator or board carries the will of the government into effect. Speaking of administrative policy, Gladden defines administrative policy as what we call the ministerial administrator or a board, and this board carries out the will of the government into effect. This board is responsible for seeing that the will, the intention, the programs, the plan of the government is being implemented effectively. Speaking of administrative policy, don't forget this is still a branch under the executive, all right, arm of government. Now we have the chief executive, as said earlier, is responsible as the general manager for how he heads several departments and perform their duties. Speaking of this, executive ministerial administrator having the chief executive responsible for general management. Okay, chief executive responsible for general management, and under him he has several departments which he ensure that their duties and responsibilities are being carried out effectively. So we have that as that. Now let's move a bit further. Now, according to Millet believes that public administration is an instrument for the exercise of political power. According to Millet says, according to him, public administration is an instrument for the exercise of political power. Okay, so we have that as that. Now we have according to Appleby, that's Appleby, Appleby says the essence of public administration is policy making. Alright? According to his view, the reason why we have public administration is that policies can be made. Alright, and there's a different thing between policy being made, the different thing between policy being followed and being acknowledged. When we talk about public administration, the main reason why we have it is that policy that will regulate the state can be made. So we have that as that. The policy before every action. Alright, that is before an action is being taken by the government, there has to be policies. Policies are seen as a guide, a prerequisite to all management. For you to carry out any effective management, there has to be a policy laid on ground for you, a policy that you are following, a policy that you are tailing. So it also says here, it provides the framework within which all actions for the accomplishment and objective are being activated. Okay, it says it provides the framework within which all actions for the accomplishment of an objective, that is to say, to accomplish an objective, then there has to be policies. Alright, there has to be policies laid down. The accomplishment of an objective are to be activated by the help of a policy. Okay? So it says that policy means a decision as to what shall be done and how, when, and where. Take that again. Policy means a decision to what shall be done, how, when, and where. So we have that as that. In the words of theory A, alright, in the words of theory, a policy is a verbal, written, or implied basic guide or action that is adopted and followed by a manager. So we have that as that policy. Now, it says here that as a federal state, the civil service of the federation is organized into federal civil service and the civil service of the state government. Like we all know that civil service are all there to ensure that the government is being run smoothly. Civil service are there to help the government carry out its goals, programs, and help in implementing them. Alright, this means that the civil service of the federation is organized into 37 states. Alright, 37 civil services, including the state civil service. Now, what are we saying here? Since the civil servants are very important, since the civil service is a service, while the servants are the people, the personnel used in the service. Now, since this civil service is necessary in the federation, so it is therefore organized into 37, 36 actually, 37, alright, 37 civil services. What makes it 37 is the state capital inclusive and makes it all 37. It says that the horizontal structuring of civil service, all right, we have the horizontal structuring of civil service, which are administrative class, executive class, secretariat class, clerical class, and professional class. All right, structuring the horizontal structuring of civil service into classes. All right, we have the administrative class, the executive class, secretarial class, and we have the clerical class and also the professional class. So we have that as that. Now let's continue. Now let's take this point, all right? It says that Nigeria became a social welfare state after the inauguration of the independent constitution in 1960. Okay, it says that Nigeria became a social welfare state after the inauguration of the independent constitution in 1960. Adebo Commission on the Review of Salary Structure of the Civil Service. Now, speaking of social welfare state now, this is a state that's now responsible for social welfare. Social welfare, putting in constitution certain things that the society, that the state requires, and even stretching its hand into other states. So, according to the material, Nigeria became a social welfare state after the inauguration of the independent constitution in 1960. And speaking of review, yes, the civil service has undergo several of it. Speaking of the Adebo Commission on the Review of the Salary Structure of the Civil Service in 1971. Alright, 1971 Salary Review of the Civil Servant in the Civil Service. We have 1971 review as the Adebo Commission, which is particular about reviewing the salary structure of the civil servant. We also have the Udoji Commission. This Udoji Commission is in 1974, happened in 1974, and it's also a review, and happened in 1974. So as well we have the reform by Babangida Civil Service Reform in 1988. All these are examples of civil service reforms, and we have that of the Abacha in 1999. Now we also have a minister. All right, a minister is responsible for all that goes on within his department. A minister is responsible for all that goes on within his department. Now, administrative responsibility is the liability of the officer to give a satisfactory account of the exercise of the power or discretion vested in them to someone whom it's due to. Speaking of administrative responsibility, sure, there is a responsibility on your shoulder, and it's all about standing up, manning up to take care of this responsibility and also reporting accordingly to your superior. Now, in a parliamentary type of government, the minister has to resign for mistake committed by officials. So if you are a minister and you are responsible for everything that goes in your goes on in your department, if anything goes wrong in a parliamentary type of government, you have to resign. Even though you're not the one who committed this mistake, in as much as it is your department, it's your jurisdiction, and if it's one of your official, then you have to resign. I say that the minister has the power to direct, control, and supervise. So we have that as that. So let's really talk about error of law. Now, when we say error of law, what are we talking about? A public servant may misinterpret the law and may impose upon the citizens' duties the obligations which are not required by the law. That is what we see as error of law. Error of law here is when a civil servant misinterprets the law. And definitely when you misinterpret the law, that which is not expected is done. That which is not proper is done on a citizen. Right? An error of fact finding. Also, we have there may be cases in which official has erred in discovering facts. This is when a public official public servants makes that error when it comes to discovering facts. He or she may wrongly interpret facts or ignore them and thus may act as a wrong presumption. So we also have the abuse of authority. If a public official uses his or her authority, right, vindictively to harm someone or to harm some person, the court can intervene and punish him, or the court can intervene and punish him or if she is found guilty of using his or her authority to make an act of personal revenge. Alright? The authority vested on the public servant is to be used in accordance with the policy of the service, not for personal gain or what have you. Alright? So we have that as that. Also, we have error of authority. Above all, public officials have to act according to certain procedures as laid down by the law, and if they do not follow the prescribed procedure, the courts have the right to question the legality of their action. By that is to tell us that even with the authority vested upon you, if you don't use it in line with the policy, right, in line with the prescribed procedure, then you will be called to answer some questions by the court. So we have that. We're almost done with this course. I think and there's something called hierarchy or hierarchical structure of administration. When we say this, we are simply talking about the clear picture, the clear line of responsibility. Okay, hierarchical structure of public administration provide what we call a clear line. All right, provide what we call a clear line of responsibility in the service. Excuse me. It says that responsibility and accountability are impossible. Responsibility and accountability are impossible without authority. All right, without authority and power control. Okay, all this has to be put in check. So we have that as that. Now we also have something called O&M, which is an abbreviation for organization and method. O&M. Okay, very quickly, let's talk about leadership. All right, leadership is often regarded as the important modifier of organization behavior. Leadership, important modifier of organization behavior. It is said, get the right man, woman in leadership job, all your problems will be solved. Very true. When you get the right hand, Miss Emilia Gabe, good morning. Came a bit late. It's good to have you on the streams. Okay, now leadership has therefore double meaning. Dictionary meaning of the verb to lead shows that the term is used in two different senses. Okay, to excel, advance, to be prominent, to guide others. Now, head of an organization, to hold or command. Okay, now when we talk about leadership here, we're simply talking about the ability to lead. All right, okay, to lead, to command, to be in charge. Now let's look at some qualities of leadership. A leader must be intelligent, judgment wise, check, objectivity, check, initiative, check, and dependability, check. Little or no supervision, with little or no supervision, you should be able to deliver top notch as a leader. Alright, so we have that as that. So like I said, it's a mock up for this course. We are almost done. So as it says that we have what we call democratic leader. A democratic leader is said to be participatory and employee-centered. Democratic is very active. It will be here, it will be there, it will participate in this, participate in that, and is very what employee-centered. It says here a democratic leader is said to be participatory and employee-centered. While we have the authoritarian approach grew out of Taylor's scientific management movement, while the democratic approach developed from the research and experiments conducted by Elton George Mayo. Now, as we have the democratic, we also have the authoritarian. Alright, the authoritarian is more result-oriented than the democratic. The authoritarian is as a result of Winston Taylor's work by the use of the scientific management that has to do with productivity. While that of the democratic approach of leadership is that of the Elton George Mayo's work. Alright, so we have that as that. Also, we have the charismatic leadership was as a result of Max Weber's work, such that this type of leader is a natural leader. People follow him automatically because of his inborn qualities. Alright, so we have that as that. Now let's quickly talk about planning. Planning here is said to be the preparation for action. Planning is the preparation for action. Okay? It is an inherent part of individual and cooperative or collective endeavor. Planning is a rational process, characteristics of all human behavior. Definitely, all human beings plan rationally. If you are not planning, you are not rational. If you are planning, that means you are rational. Planning is deciding in advance what is to be done. Deciding in advance what is to be done. So we have that as that. Excuse me. There's something called overall planning. Now, when we say overall planning, we are simply talking about a plan that has to do with planning of objectives, activities, alright, in the society. It can also be referred to as the social economic planning. Overall planning can also be seen as what we call social economic planning. And when we talk about this, we are talking about the planning of natural resources, objectives and activities that has to do with the entire society. Okay, please, if you're on the stream, do well to smash the like button, and if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel as well. So we have that as that. Now let's continue. Now there's something called limited planning. Limited planning does not centralize all socio-economic activities at one focal point. It doesn't do that. While we have administrative planning, which is mainly concerned with administrative programs. Okay, so let me do that again. Limited planning does not centralize all the social economic activity in one focal point. Okay, thank you very much for that. Somebody just smashed the like button. So we have that as that. Now we also have what is called coordination. Okay, And there's also something called negative coordination. Negative coordination means the removal of conflict and overlapping in administration. While we have positively, it means to secure cooperation and team work amongst numerous employees of an organization. So we have positive and we have negative coordination. Now, in general, coordination means making all parts of an organization work harmoniously without conflict and without cross purpose to achieve a defined goal. That is what's called coordination generally. Alright, coordination is a means and not an end in itself. Alright, it is a channel, it is a medium to get a result. It's not the result itself. Alright, that's why it's called, it is a means and not an end in itself. Alright, in the words of Newman, alright, according to Newman, it is not a separate activity but a condition that should what? Permeate all phases of administration. Cooperation should permeate all phases of what we call administration, according to Newman. Okay, so we have that of that. It is therefore seen as the synchronization, therefore seen as a synchronization of efforts of a common purpose. Alright, effort for a common purpose. When everybody agrees to work together, put hands together, put heads together, everybody's moving towards left, everybody's moving towards right, nobody's moving left, another person moving right, everybody's moving in the same direction to achieve one purpose. The synchronization of effort for a common purpose. Okay, operation is a collective action of the one person without another. Alright, that's what we're talking about, coordination. So we have the types of coordination. There can be two types of coordination. We have the internal or functional, and we have the external or structural. Internal or functional is concerned with the coordination of the activities of individuals working in an organization. But the externals do with activities of different organization units. The same organization but different units. So we have that as that. I think we are almost done. And we have what we call here delegation. According to Mooney, Mooney, Mooney sees delegation, all right, it means, according to Mooney, it says it's conferring, all right, the conferring of specific authority by a higher to a lower authority. When a higher authority confines what we call, good morning, Miss Bridget John. Are you offering this course as well? And if yes, you're coming pretty late. All right. Now, speaking of delegation, it means the conferring according to Mooney. Mooney is Mooney. Mooney says that delegation is when authority is being conferred. Authority is being conferred for a specific purpose by who? By a higher to a lower authority. Now, it means that delegation is the devolution of authority by a superior person to his agent or subordinates. Alright, to his agent or subordinate subject to his supervision and control. When, like, maybe as the head of the department, you are so busy that you don't want to miss out in some aspect, so you appoint someone granting you for the time being, for a specific time, really upon him your authority, and it carries on your behalf. So we have that as delegation of authority. So we have that as that. I think we are basically done. Okay, the last thing we have here is communication, and communication is not something new to us at this level. All right, it is said to be a two-way traffic, and it's between the sender, the receive, the sender, and the receiver. And there's a message, and there's a medium, and the feedback is also essential. And we have type of communication. We have the internal, external, and interpersonal communication. We have the upward. And when we say internal, this is communication deals with the relationship between an organization. External is outside an organization, and intrapersonal. When we say intrapersonal, means relationship among the agency's employee. Now, when we say communication upward, downward, and across, communication upward is attained by systematic written and verbal reports of performance and progress statistics and accounting reports concerning work written in verbal requests for guidance, suggestion, and discussion. Communication upward is like you are sending reports to your boss. All right, formal and we have upward, downward is when it's coming from them to you. All right, like a memo from the top management to people below them, and across is communication that spreads from the intermediate level. All right, there's communication that comes from the intermediate level from both the middle and the beneath and the upper ones. So we have communication upward, downward, and across. Then we have formal and informal communication. So we have that as that. So on this note, we'll call it a wrap here for today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Miss Damilola. Thank you, Miss Gabby. Thank you, Miss Bridget. Thank you very much, everyone. Please let's do to keep our notes up to date, submit to the appropriate quarters, and those of us that are not yet become the member of the private class, we are missing out a lot. Don't hesitate to reach out to me on www.tutorio.com and use the WhatsApp button on the website to take you directly to my DM, and you can ask me any question in as much as it's related to now the National Progress of Nigeria. I'm always there, willing to assist. Thank you very much, everyone, once again. I look forward to see you all in subsequent tutorials. To have a wonderful day. Bye.